So there are a lot of bad things you can do to cannabis plants, obviously, while growing and also drying and curing them. But today I'm only going to go over 3 bad things that you should never do to your plants and will cause quite a bit of trouble throughout the growing process. Thing number 1, a lot of beginner growers struggle with. I never really struggled with this because cannabis is the first plant I grew and I did a lot of research before going into it, but it's overwatering your cannabis plants. So overwatering your cannabis plants is when you go through the watering process too frequently. You do not want to water your plants too often, or else you will cause something called root rot in your cannabis plants, and that can also lead to a whole lot of other trouble, including but not limited to completely killing your plant because of the disease. So step away from your garden. Do not water too often. Just as a general guideline, wait until it's like 50% the weight it is at full water or a little bit less than that. Or if you're growing with peat moss, generally right before the point the peat moss becomes hydrophobic, you can usually water, and that will keep you from going into root rot. Excuse me, we're going to talk about bud rot later. The second thing is molding your bud. So you go through the growing process, which we all know is a super long process. It can take 4 to 5 months from beginning to end. And the last thing you want to do is then go through the process of trimming your weed and then molding the weed due to not burping often enough, just leaving it in the jar and forgetting about it for a long period of time. A couple countermeasures you can take to make sure you're not going to rot your bud is to get a hydrometer that will measure the humidity in the air inside of the jar. You can buy mini hydrometers from Amazon pretty cheap. You can buy 4 packs of them for about $15-20, I think, and it's not really that big of an investment that's going to save your bud. Also, a thing you can do is burp them more often than you think you need to if you don't want to buy hydrometers, and then keep a really close eye on the dryness of your bud for the first couple of weeks, and then you will be able to open them every couple of days or once a week if you're lucky enough and your bud is dry enough. I would say over drying your bud, but you can smoke over dried bud. You cannot smoke molded weed. The third thing I want to talk about is ignoring problems when they're small. This is more particularly when it comes to things like powdery mildew. You really need to fight right away. Things like pests like spider mites and thrips, you need to fight those right away, or else overnight it seems they're going to become an unmanageable problem, and then they can cause you problems for months and even years, and you might need to completely start over and clean your grow, and no one wants to go through that process, especially if you want to have a residual harvest set up. So those are 3 things that you could be doing wrong in your garden that you're going to want to avoid. If you have any more things to add to the list, put them in the comment section below to be featured in a future video. I will be doing this as a series. So thank you very much. If you want to stay tuned and watch a lot of this series, or if you like my content in general, please don't forget to subscribe and also hit the like button so more people can see this video. I will see you next